Agenda is report of operations, Transportation Department. Mr. Tatro, would you come up and sit next to Mr. Sweat? Does everyone know Mr. Tatro, our new transportation manager? Okay, floor is yours.
All right, I gave everyone a copy of my notes. About 2 weeks after we started our first round of 3 times a year safety inspections done by the registry on the school buses. We showed an increase of about 10% based on the last round of inspections that we had prior to that. We're up to about 67% pass rating, which is improvement. I'm not going to say it's good, I'm not going to say it's bad, it's improvement over where it was prior to that. That's 32 out of 48 of our units passed first time, no problems. They got stickered right away. Of those, 12 of them were recorded with no write-ups whatsoever, no problems. There were no EQs, there was nothing. They were perfect inspections, which again was a tremendous improvement from my understanding of what happened prior to that. Of the things that we did fail for, none of them were brakes or body related. They were minor things, some of them fluky, some of them could have been prevented. It was a tremendous learning experience, and our next round of inspections is coming out first week in January, and I do expect that we will have over 70%. Our target is 100%. I expect to see over 70%, another 10% increase over last time. Now that we know what specifically we can continue to improve upon, although we've showed great improvement already on that. So that's the update on our inspections. Again, that's first week in January we start our winter inspections.
Just a second. Any comment on this phase of the report?
Yes. On the first of all, it's good that there's an improvement there. Safety is the first thing on everyone's mind. You mentioned that there's some things that were fluky, or that it's a learning experience. Can you sort of give me a little idea of what that is, and
yeah, I can give you
and what your plans are to address that? Because those sound like minor things that should not happen.
Well, by fluky, I can give you a perfect example. All of our buses in this round were what we call pre-inspected. Okay, by pre-inspection, we're going through and we're setting off the emergency buzzers. We're flipping up seats. We're making sure there's no tears in the seats. Doing as much in a pre-inspection, and we're trying to find what the registry is going to find. So as part of that process, like I said, we check all the emergency buzzers, every single window, every door hatch, to make sure when you flip that handle, it buzzes. That happened on a particular bus. Every single emergency buzzer went off. Registry inspector grabbed the handle, flipped it up.
Nothing happened.
It didn't buzz. Instantaneously. Unfortunately, that has to be a failure. Within 5 minutes, that repair was made, and the bus was passed because it did work fine. And all it was just a connection between the spring-loaded metal connector and the handle. And that's what I mean by fluky. We had a couple of those. Unfortunately, it was bad timing at that moment for that to go. There was some human error on some of the units that should have been caught prior to even being presented for inspection, that have been corrected, and we will not have any more of those in the next round.
So how far in advance do you have noticed that you're going to be inspected? Is it 24 hours? Or?
No, we already have our schedule.
No, you have it in advance.
We've had our schedule since September as to when our next round is.
And every bus, you went through the routine from the front to the rear, and still there's some things that happen.
I cannot speak to what happened prior to the last group of inspections.
Okay.
I can only speak to what we're anticipating coming first week in January as to what the process has been.
Any other questions from Mr. Tatro on this part of the report? I just have one. Go ahead, Jeff.
No, go.
I just have one really quick question, and I don't want to put you on the spot, okay? But sure. I think people want to know, and I want to know. All right. In your best estimation, okay, even though we had 12 vehicles not pass or whatever. Are our children safe today on those buses?
100%.
100%.
I would not allow a bus on the road if it were not safe.
Thank you. Jeff?
What percentage of the failures would you associate with human error?
What percentage?
Roughly.
About 20%.
20, so
20% of the failures.
20% of the failures, or that 60? So we had about 33%.
That failed.
Right, so 20% of the 33%, is that what you're saying?
We had 16 buses that ultimately failed. So of the 16,
Yes.
4 of them,
Or human error?
yes. Three of them were, and that buzzer one I'm kind of counting as well. So, but that's 20% that I would expect wouldn't even happen next time.
Okay.
That's where I'm coming up with 20%.
Okay, so, and I'm not trying to pigeonhole you into an answer, but I'm just trying to understand. So if you eliminate those four buses, you still got 12.
Correct.
Okay, so is that percentage just sort of, no matter what, there's going to be a running percentage of about those 12 out of 48 just because? No.
Yeah.
So what do you think is achievable with the current age of the fleet? I mean, don't say 100 because you don't believe 100.
75%.
You think
Between 75 and 80% should pass first time.
75 and 80% should pass?
That's what our goal is, and that's what our expectation is going forward.
And is that irrespective of the age of the fleet, or is that because of the age of the fleet?
That is in part due because of the age of the fleet.
And I'm not going to hold you to this, but if you had a fleet that averaged maybe 3 years in age, what would you think that 25% would become?
If you had a fleet that was 3 years old, we would expect and anticipate about a 90% pass rating.
90%. But so you'd still have that 10% that just is hard to
Could be a
find.
room in the wrong place, I guess, I don't know.
Anytime anything is inspected, there is room for improvement. So there are things that can always be improved upon, no matter the age of anything.
Thank you.
Okay, move on. Mr. Tatro?
Our staffing, since September 1st, we've brought on 4 new drivers, 5 drivers and 4 monitors. Some of those are actually former employees who we've had the great fortune of having returned to us. All of our staffing needs are currently met. All of our runs are covered. We have athletic drivers for when Ms. Clark picks up her athletics coming up in a couple of weeks. We'll be able to cover all of those, trying to minimize the number of outside vendors that were used in the past. If we continue to grow our staff and can configure our routes and can free up some units, we're open to pull back some of our what we're calling out-of-district runs, where an outside vendor may transport students to an out-of-district school. But our staffing is good right now, and we could use maybe 1 or 2 more. I don't anticipate people leaving, but you never know what's going to happen as far as that goes. Our mechanics hours, we've been able to work without overtime. We've established schedules for all of our part-time staff members in the garage as well. So the staffing right now, we're about where we need to be to do everything that needs to get done.
I just want to compliment you on that part, because I see a reduction in the mechanics as far as overtime, yet you still were able to achieve an improvement in on the inspection side. So it sounds like there's more hands-on and accountability when I read that.
I have 2 questions.
Sure.
Thank you for the organizational chart that you provided today. This is in place today, the lead mechanic, the lead drivers, or is this what you're working towards?
That's what would be in place now.
It's what's in place right now?
Correct.
All right, great, thanks. The other question that I had, and I don't know if you've been asked yet, but we are going to invite you to the policy review committee. One of the pieces that is up for review right now is the transportation of drivers' children. I hope that you can attend. We are going to be asking for a lot of information around how many drivers currently are providing transportation for their children, what you've seen so far on any issues that's causing, or just your thoughts around it. But I know that you have just said that you do have, the staff that you're comfortable with the staff that you have. I guess it's not so much a question, but just to be prepared, it's one of the things that we're going to push pretty hard on at the Policy Review Committee, is that how is that going to affect your staffing if the policy does change to no longer allow drivers to transport their own children. So I don't know if you have any thoughts on that now, or if we just want to wait to the Policy Review Committee meeting and then report out to this board after that meeting.
Yeah, I've begun working on our process, and I look forward to talking to you about it on Monday.
Terrific. Thank you very much.
Okay, continue.
All right, our vehicles. First, just to reiterate, all of our buses currently meet or exceed all safety standards. We are operating a safe school bus student transportation system in Wareham. Anytime there is a problem or a defect, it's repaired very quickly. And we've been able to implement in full our preventive maintenance system, which we use a program called EasyBus, which I have provided the chairman with a copy of our reports, just so that he's familiar with the system. What that allows us to do is preventively maintain our units. It tells us what's coming due, when it's due for an oil change, when it is due just to be looked at, to make sure there is nothing wrong, that all the exhaust hangers are there, the tires are still inflated to the proper levels. So what this system does is it tells us when 4,500 miles are coming up to ensure that a qualified, trained mechanic is actually going over that unit. So that's been implemented, and it's been a big help with maintaining the fleet.
The thing that I want to say about maintenance is, and I think we can't stress this, anything that's mechanical breaks. And you can't foresee it breaking, and you just want to, you hope it doesn't break when you've got kids on board, but things break. And I think that the best way to keep things from breaking is preventive maintenance. But even at that, I mean, no one takes care of their vehicles any better than I do. And I'm going down Hathaway Road the other day, going to the mall to buy my wife a Christmas present, and I step on the brakes and there's no brakes. And so I lost my brakes because I just popped the brake line. So no matter how careful you are or how good you are about taking care of your vehicles, stuff like that do happen. Hopefully none of our buses lose brakes, but it's just mechanical things break, and I think the best way to stay on top of that is a good preventive maintenance program. And when I looked that over, I was very impressed at the degree to which you're being proactive in maintaining the fleet. I was very impressed with that.
Dr. Sylvia, can I just ask, is there a lead mechanic in the garage at this time?
We're currently using a lead mechanic, yes.
Thank you.
I have one question.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry I don't know the answer to this question, but the drivers, when they go through their training, is part of the training how to react to things like a blown tire, icy streets, breakdowns? Is that part of the training that drivers go through, that in case there is something, that they are prepared to react?
That's one of the steps that we can only really verbally introduce them to, and we do the best we can to prepare them for it. We certainly go over what the procedure would be. If you break down, this is who you radio. This, we go over an evacuation. Is it necessary? God forbid it's something major. So we do verbally try to educate them to the best of our ability, but unfortunately, till something breaks down, which doesn't really happen when they're in a training class, it's difficult for them to actually experience that.
I do understand that. I think that I would like to request if we could look into additional training, outside training that's available, and if we could find the funds for it to provide that type of training for your drivers. And,